today's topic is popular book talk books. I'm gonna read a few and tell you basically if I think they're worth it or not. I do think it's important to note that most books trending on booktok are not meant to be taken at very deep value. Like, a lot of booktok books is just for fun, for entertainment purposes, and for escapism. So I'm going to be taking that into mind today because I do think definitely reading these trending popular books with easy English and easy plot lines to follow is definitely a different reading experience than reading the classics like I did in my last video, which you should check out. So I've picked out a few books today to read. I'm going to give you my thoughts. Okay, so the first book I picked out is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. It's around 400 pages. It's fantasy, young adult. I heard it's supposed to be kind of enemies to lovers. So I'm really excited to read this because fantasy is my favorite genre, especially young adult. I feel like it's just better. Not better, but you know, there's a lot of young adult fantasy gems hidden in there. I've heard so many great reviews about this. Usually when something is so like popularly well rated, like I haven't seen many people criticize this book. It makes me wonder, is this all of us just being too scared to speak out and say we don't like it because of what the masses think? Or is this book actually great? So that's what I'm going to determine for myself. So let's get reading. Okay, this might be a little bit cheating because I have already read The Cruel Prince. And so I read it and I was like, yeah, this is good and this is fun, but like it's not great, it's not anything special, it's not anything revolutionary. And so then I was, on booktok, on booktube, just like watching my favorite people on YouTube talk about books, and I kept seeing this book pop up and everyone was like, this book is so good, this is my favorite book ever, it's the best enemies to lovers. And I was like, I really didn't get those vibes. Like, what did I miss? And I think that might have been at least a year, maybe 2 ago. So I decided to go ahead and reread it, and that's what I'm in the process of doing right now. I binged like half of it yesterday. I'll finish the rest of it soon. But I think I am enjoying it more the second time. But I'm still not quite sure like what the hype is. Like, I don't think it would be a 5-star regardless. Like maybe a 4, maybe a 3.5. I'm not really sure because I'm only halfway done. But I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, so I'm almost done with the book, and one of my favorite things about this book is that normally in a fantasy kind of book like this, whenever you see a human amid like another race, like fairies or elves or something, usually the human is, like not as advanced or as smart or as pretty or as strong or fast or clever, like we could see that in the Aragon books, in Akotar, what's another one, in Twilight, and in all of those books the same thing happens. They experience discrimination because they're different, and then in the end they turn into whatever it was. Like Twilight, she turned into a vampire. Feyre turned into a fairy. And so the difference between those books and The Cruel Prince is the whole time Jude is a human. She's obviously very much at a disadvantage because she's a human and she doesn't have the physical capabilities of the fairies, but she doesn't let that stop her, and she continues to go on her path of finding revenge and seeking power. And I think that is just a breath of fresh air. I think it's nice and refreshing to see something different. So that made me respect this book already. Also, this book is making me fall in love with the name Jude. It's so pretty. I love the name Jude. So that's my update. Okay, I don't know if this is a statement on me being easily entertained, but reading this book, I was never bored. Like, I thought the plot pacing was done very well. There was always something happening, and I really did have trouble putting this book down. Spoilers, by the way. Whenever Dane dies, the power dynamic kind of switches between Cardan and Jude, and I thought that was really interesting and definitely fun to see after witnessing Cardan be pretty awful for the whole beginning of the book, seeing the power dynamic switch after Dane dies. So another thing that I would like to point out is usually in a fandom where there's like a bad guy, but they're not the villain. They're just like a bad person, but not necessarily like the bad person in like the villain of the plot, right, in the story. And so like think of like Draco or like Bakugo, okay, right? Just like bad people. And so let's ignore the fact that Draco did have a little bit of a character arc at the end. I'm talking about the characters that are just like if we pretend like later Draco never happened, right? He's basically just an ass for everything. And everyone romanticizes him and they're like, oh, he's so blah, 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 blah. I love him, and they like fan over him. But I like how we actually see how even though Cardan did seem like that in the beginning, the whole time he was actually just coming from a bad place, and we didn't know that. And obviously we get to see that later in the book, which explains a lot, and it also makes it a lot easier to see how like enemies to lovers, like they really were enemies. Like that's another annoying thing in a lot of these enemies to lovers books. They're not actually enemies. It was really just the girl thinking that the guy hated him because of a misunderstanding, and then in the end it's like, oh no, he loved you the whole time. That's not how this is. They genuinely didn't like each other, and they still don't at the end of this book, but they do have a few moments of understanding where I think they understand each other. And I also do really like that at the end of this book they end still after like coming off of Jude basically betraying him. So basically they hate each other all over again. It's a very slow burn that goes all over these 3 books. It's not just a quick turnaround from being enemies to falling in love, because obviously, you know, those are 2 very different sides of the extremes, 2 very different extremes. And I think I like the way that was done. Like after they had that kiss in the office, if they just went to being in love, it would have made no sense. So the fact that they didn't not rekindle, I guess there was never anything there in the first place, but the fact that they didn't immediately go into being more than friends or even friends at all immediately after that was just very realistic and a breath of fresh air, frankly, after all these other books I've been reading that are claiming to be enemies to lovers. I also really like Jude in this book. She's one of my favorite girl bosses ever. And back to me talking about how I really appreciate that she has strength, that she's also immortal. And I really like how she turned that into not only like being strong as immortal, but being immortal was her strength. Her ability to lie, her ability, like her smart, her cleverness, like the things that made her human were what helped her in the end. Her ability to lie is essentially what made her become a spy and helped her on this trajectory of gaining power. And that's really where most of the plot in this book lies. I think that is very meaningful. So I think I would rate this book either a 4 or 4.5 star. I'm kind of not really sure. I have to wait a little bit and see how it resonates in my brain, how often I think about it. But I would say definitely a worthy read. Definitely if you're a young adult fantasy fairy lover, this should definitely make your TBR. Okay, first of all, ignore that my blinds are open at night. I was too lazy to get out of my warm bed to turn them off, or to close them. So the book that I've chosen for book number 2 is the controversial Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. And the reason that I chose this book is because I'm sure we all remember whenever this book first was becoming popular, what was doing most of the marketing for this book was the videos of people reading this book and just like sobbing to it, saying this is the best book I've ever read. It made like, it's so sad, so good, right? Well, I want to feel something too, and I want to be on the inside. I want to know what is making people feel these raw, intense emotions. So I'm gonna read this book for myself. I've also heard the quote, "We laughed at my son's big balls," came from this book. And I want to know the story behind that. I want to know the context of that situation. So I'm gonna read this book and hope that I don't read brain cells. Okay, I'm 50 pages into Ugly Love, and I think I've just read too many romances, or too many Colleen Hoover books, or too many just basic TikTok romances, because this is not doing it for me. I'm 50 pages in. I'm mildly bored. Everything just feels so irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care about the characters. I don't care about their situations. Like, that's the whole appeal of this book, is that the main character guy is mysterious and we don't really know about him, but we know that something happened with him and a girl in the past. And it kind of gives us like glimpses of like 5 years prior. Every now and then there will be a chapter from 5 years before, and it's kind of showing us little bits and pieces of what happened that made him so mysterious. And it's like, I don't care. Like, I don't know. We'll see if that changes though. Okay, so in this book there's like not quite step-sibling relationship, but like Miles and this other girl from the past, they were together, okay? Like, they liked each other, and then they found out that their parents were dating and were gonna get married. So like, it's not step-sibling, but it's like kind of weird, and it really just makes me uncomfortable reading about it. Like, I don't want to read a step-sibling romance. I'm really scared he's gonna get her pregnant, and that just like makes me really uncomfortable. And I don't like reading this, and it's like stressing me out so far. I'm not really enjoying this at all. For the record, I just got my Invisalign put in, so if you notice me lisping just a little bit, give me some grace. So I'm about 75%, I would say, done with the book. And I hate to say it, but my prediction was right, and she indeed did get pregnant, and I want to stop reading this book so much. I'm not enjoying it at all. I don't care about the characters. It's just smut. It's just smut so far. Like, I feel like that trope of like friends with benefits, or like we're just gonna have sex and that's it, and that's all we're gonna do. We're not gonna, no feelings, nothing attached. I don't like that trope because I don't like the sex. Like, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't like reading it. So the fact that that's all they're doing, we're not working on their relationship developing at all, really, it's probably not the best thing, probably not the best genre, probably not the best trope for me to have picked up. But you know, I'm doing this for the video, and I can't wait till it's over, and I'm gonna binge it tonight so I can be done with it. I'm gonna force myself, hopefully. We'll see. I'm having dinner with my family, so I don't know. Wish me good luck though, because this is hard to get through. I really feel uncomfortable with the whole like step sibling thing, and I guess they're technically not step siblings. Or no, they are, because their parents get married without telling them, so they are step siblings after they find out she's pregnant. So That's awesome. But I'm really hating it. Oh my gosh, I hate it when a book is so bad and then the end is good and I can't rate it 1 star. And that's exactly what just happened to me. It's so annoying. I just finished the book. I've already talked enough about this as I was reading it, made most of my points that I would have usually just wrapped up at the end. But the ending was actually better than the rest of the book, so I'm thinking this is gonna be a 2-star read. Maybe 2.5. It was really bad. I didn't enjoy reading it. I will never read it. I will never, ever, ever recommend this book to anyone. I will, if someone asks me, how was that book? I will tell them I didn't like it. And I don't like it. But the ending was kind of nice, okay? But that doesn't make up for, you know, how long was this book? 300 pages? That doesn't make up for 290 bad pages. The last 10 were good. That doesn't make up for it, okay? I didn't forget. Anyways. So I think with that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. It's been kind of long. I think it was already at like 16 or 17 minutes or something. So the reason why I wanted to include both of these books is just to show that TikTok can have hits and it can have misses, okay? Is this so annoying? Should I take this out just to record this? I don't know what to do because I swear it's not even bad until like I start recording. It's just my S's. It's like a little... But anyways, I think TikTok books can be very much hit or misses. I've loved some, and as we can see from this video, I've absolutely hated some. So I think it's very important to take everything with a grain of salt. If it sounds like something you're going to be interested in, if people you know, trust, and watch have reviewed this book well, maybe give it a shot. If you read 200 pages of it and you still hate it, DNF it. Because even if the last 100 pages are good, does it make up for your suffering? That's for you to decide, okay? So take everything with a grain of salt. Don't read books just because they're popular. Read because of what you like, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and end this video right here. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much if you've stayed all the way till the end.